Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners. It seems like every couple years, the rhinos here in Cheyenne need to remember who their daddy is.
Come and get it, who's your daddy?
If you remember, in 2020, a bunch of rhinos got together in the interim committee process, and they brought forth a bill called Fix NICS. It was a form of red flag gun seizures. We knew it. They knew it. Everyone knew it. And because it was a budget session which did not begin till February, we had around 5 to 6 weeks to sound the alarm and shut that bill down. And that's exactly what we did. We told you guys, you sent in thousands of emails, made hundreds, if not thousands of phone calls into the legislature. And before session even began that year, Representative Pownell waved the white flag. He withdrew the bill from consideration. Case closed. We won. From there, we went on in the primaries in 2020 to tell every gun owner we could think of that people like Michael Von Flatteren, Bill Pownell, Kirkbride, and all the rest of those guys try to sneak through a version of red flag gun seizures here in Wyoming. All of them lost their primaries. All of them were thrown out of office. And it was that glorious primary cycle that got the Secretary of State to come after WIGO, demand our donors. We told him to go screw himself. Got into federal court. We beat him in district court. We beat him again in circuit court. Big victory. Case closed. We're done. That was 4 years ago. But it seems like this is happening again right now today. And guys, it is urgent. You take a moment to watch this video and send off your pre-written email to the legislature. I'm going to tell you right now, this will not be a short video. So if you're pressed for time, I totally get it. Whatever else you do, hit the link below and send your pre-written email. Work's all done for you. Fire off the email to your state rep and your state senator and make double darn sure they know you are 100% opposed to Senate File 12. If you have more time, guys, I'm going to break this down for you right now. The left knows they can't pass gun control in Cheyenne. Bloomberg knows it. The lobbyists know it. They try. They tried to pass waiting periods a while back. That failed. They know they can't pass gun registration. They can't pass an AR-15 ban. The only play for these little commie sympathizers right now is to work with judicial processes to mandate gun control by judicial decree. It's an ongoing problem, not just here, but nationwide. The idea of somebody being declared prohibited while never actually being convicted or adjudicated prohibited. So, for example, veterans have had a real problem over the last 10 years where some mental health staffer simply declares them disabled, defective, and they lose their gun rights having never been convicted of a crime in court. This happens to veterans, and it happens to people in civil courts all the time. And that's exactly what Senate File 12 is designed to do. The Joint Judiciary Interim Committee, this is the House and Senate committees, have come together, and they have put forth a package that is now referred to as Senate File 12 that would create a permanent protective order here in Wyoming that results in a lifetime gun ban with no need for a gun owner to be convicted or even charged with a crime in court. Now, if that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. If it does, again, take a moment, hit the link, fire off your email to your senator and your state rep and tell them you had better remember that WIGO members are the power players in Wyoming. And those guys in 2020 who forgot, they remembered who their political daddies were.
You know I got it.
And they're about to find out again in Cheyenne. Fire off your email today. Let me explain the process. Right now in Wyoming, we have two protective orders. We have an emergency 3-day protective order, which is an ex parte hearing, which we do not care for, we do not approve, do not agree with. And it's an ex parte hearing, which means the gun owner in question isn't even allowed to be in the room. So we're already opposed to ex parte hearings, no matter how long or short the order is. That's the first type of order that Wyoming has. 3-day emergency, supposedly, protective orders. Number two, we have a 3-year final order of protection here in Wyoming as well. A 3-year final order. This order can be rescinded based on the judge's thoughts on the matter throughout that process. It expires at the end of 3 years. Either way, both of these have a process where they expire or are rescindable by the judge. These permanent protective orders, it's a brand new idea in Wyoming. And again, it creates a permanent lifetime protective order, which means you cannot have guns for the rest of your life. And again, there is no need for a criminal charge, let alone a criminal conviction. I'm going to read to you some sections from the bill. Again, this is Senate File 12. This has already been approved in a roll call vote by the Joint Judiciary Committee. I'm going to give you some names in a few minutes about who actually voted for this garbage. So there's two ways. There's two ways to have this permanent protective order secured or filed or entered against you. One way is upon conviction for a violent felony crime. This is on, again, Senate File 12. This is page 2, subsection B, lines 18 through 21. It says, upon conviction, the court may enter a permanent order of protection under this section in favor of the victim against a person convicted of a violent felony. That's fine. If someone commits murder, robbery, rape, arson, kidnapping, or anything else, that person should be executed for those crimes if convicted. They shouldn't be walking around on our streets. So we dang sure have no problem with a violent felon convicted in court of his crime not having his gun rights. He probably shouldn't even have his breath. That part's not the problem. The problem is on page 2, from lines 1 to line 17, it creates a process where if somebody makes an allegation against you in a civil proceeding, not a criminal charge, not a criminal court, in a civil court, a civil proceeding, and if that judge agrees, he's going to hit you with a permanent protective order, lifetime gun ban. Again, it's page 2, lines 1 through 17, and it's also found on page 6, line 20 through 21. I'm going to turn there right now. This is modifying current code section 7-3-509. So they're inserting this throughout existing current code. But make no mistake, this is a brand new thing. It's a brand new thing. We first heard about this by getting calls from WIGO members who have been through the absolute hell on earth of this process. I'm not going to give you guys names, can't give you guys any counties. We had a member recently call, and he said, you know what? I had a crazy ex-girlfriend. And he said, one night she got out of control. Things got very dangerous. I called the police. The police came. Everything got calmed down. I went back to my place, or she went back to her place, whatever it was. No big deal. Next morning, she wakes up. She decides that she was mad at me. She goes before a court and makes a petition to hit me with a 3-year final protective order, and I find out that my guns are gone. He said, I was never charged with a crime. I was never convicted of a crime. I never set foot in a criminal courtroom proceeding, but my guns were gone, subject to a 3-year final order. Now, this guy was very adept at using the legal process, and he filed an armada of challenges to this. And after a certain period of time, this gun owner had his firearms returned to him. But think about this. The cops came. There was no probable cause for any charges to be filed. There was no charges filed. And yet the next day, this guy's guns were gone for what would have been 3 years. And if he didn't have the money and the stamina and the staying power to fight in court, he'd have had no guns for 3 years. Now imagine that and make it a lifetime gun ban. No charges, no arrests, no conviction, but your guns are gone for the rest of your life. That is absolutely insane. We have got to stop Senate File 12. Hit the link, fire off your pre-written email immediately. Now, what you're going to hear from people, let me turn to page 3. What you're going to hear them say is, oh, it's okay. We have due process in the bill. And there is a paragraph that they claim to be due process. I'm going to read it to you. Page 3, section D, as in dumb, line 5 through 10. It says a permanent order of protection shall include the notice required under a different code section, and a hearing shall be held before a permanent order of protection is entered, provided that the petitioner or another party to the hearing may petition to appear remotely as provided in some different code sections. So you can be there or you can zoom in. And what they're going to tell you is that, see, that's due process. But see, here's what they're missing, right? There's no charges. There's no criminal charges being filed. This is a civil hearing. This is a civil order. So take the case of the guy, the WIGO member who called our office. He was never charged with a crime. The cops came, they investigated. They couldn't find any probable cause. And probable cause is a far lower standard, as we all know, than convicted beyond a reasonable doubt or guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you see how dangerous this is? There's no charges and your guns are gone for the rest of your life. So we don't care if this bill spells out a process whereby we can witness ourselves being screwed in a civil court. Our issue here is that there has to be a criminal conviction first. And again, they have that on page 2. And we're fine with that. Let me go back to that section. Page 2. Yeah, upon conviction, the court may enter the permanent order of protection. That's one thing. But everything else in here is garbage. Everything else in here would allow you to be hit with a bogus order by somebody who perhaps you haven't even been romantically involved with in quite some time, and boom, your guns are gone. Folks, this needs to be shut down. It needs to be shut down very, very quickly. Now, let's talk about some of the people who voted for this. I'm going to read you the list because, well, let's just say it. This is a delicious reminder of why WIGO plays so hard in primaries, because we have all these Republicans who assure us how pro-gun they are. And the moment we don't look at them, the moment that they're not being constantly monitored, they pass crap like this. Senator Landon, Senator Case, Senator Cooper, Senator Furphy, and Senator Schuler were all yes votes on Senate File 12. Again, the roll call was on November 8th of this year, and you can see all of this, in case you don't know this, on the Judiciary Committee's YouTube page. It's all right there. It's permanently cataloged right there. Check it out for yourself. You can watch the whole thing. In the House, Representative Chestick, Representative Crego, Representative Haroldson, Representative Mark Jennings. This is the guy that so many people say is great. They say he's great. You know what? I watched this hearing. Mark Jennings didn't hardly say a dang thing to object to any of this. And he was a yes vote. A final vote, the final act of betrayal from a guy who has betrayed gun owners for a very long time until they have relieved him of the burden of service in the primary in August of this year. Good riddance to Mark Jennings. Tony Nymick was a yes vote. Ember Oakley was a yes vote. Representative Provenza was a yes vote. Representative Rodriguez Williams was a yes vote. And finally, the Judy chairman for the House, Art Washut. Now, it's important to note, I think, that what we're doing here right now in Wyoming after an election is you're giving people with nothing left to lose and only personal interests to think about to make massive decisions on what's going to happen with our state. We're seeing it right now in Washington, D.C., right? Joe Biden has only a couple of weeks left. So what does he do? He gives Ukraine tens of billions. You know, he pardons his son. He says that federal employees can work from home for pretty much until hell freezes over. It's a disaster right now in D.C., right? Because Biden is unhinged and he has no more consequences to worry about. And we're seeing horrible things happen. That's kind of what's happening right here in Wyoming. Dan Furphy did not run for re-election. He's been a gun grabber his entire career. He's out, effective in a couple of weeks. Mark Jennings, we already discussed him. He got his butt stomped in the primaries. He's gone. Ember Oakley, she got shellacked in the primaries. She's out. Tony Nymick, he's gone. So all these people are gone effective January of this year, but they're the ones who are driving this agenda home. So this cannot be allowed to happen, guys. We've got to take action immediately. Again, hit the link, send your pre-written email into the legislature immediately. Talk to your senator, talk to your state rep, and tell them you are 100% opposed to Senate File 12. Again, this is a joint judiciary project. So there's going to be a House companion bill. There's going to be the Senate bill, of course. We already have that here. It's going to be a dual chamber threat. So don't just reach out to your senator. Contact your state rep as well. Now, if you have an incoming freshman, either as a rep or as a state senator, then the pre-written email function will not work. It will go to your current state rep or state senator. So if you have an incoming freshman, you got to call them. Pick up the phone, give them a call, hit them on social media, find them at a forum, talk to them at an event, make your voice heard some other way, because if we don't get very loud on this very quickly, we're going to see this bill sail through the process here in Cheyenne, and it will result in an unknown number. It's impossible to quantify how many gun owners here in Wyoming who have never been charged, let alone convicted of a crime, having their gun rights taken away for the rest of their life. Guys, get loud, make a bunch of noise, and let's remind these rhino scum who their daddy is in Wyoming politics. Take action now.